Get ahead of the game with the best New Zealand has to offer at loveracing.nz. News, previews, reviews, profiles and much more. Kickstart your mornings. Have breakfast with the Kiwis. Loveracing.nz. Gamble responsibly. If gambling becomes an issue, call 1-800-858-858.
Live around Australia on SEN Track. Welcome to Trots Life with Jason Bonington.
Welcome back to Trots Life. No Jason Bonington today, but as always on a Thursday at midday, we're joined by Mick Gurin. Now, Mick, where exactly are you? And please don't tell me you came from the Gold Coast to Melbourne.
No, I came from the Gold Coast to back to Auckland, Toby. So good afternoon to you. And look, I feel all my friends in Melbourne. We're coming across there, hopefully, for the Gordon Rossiter medal in about a month's time. And hopefully things are fine by then. But hey, it's not much fun. I know it's not much fun for anybody involved. I'm not going to get into the politics of it because I don't know enough about it. But I do feel for everybody over there, and I hope the next week goes by as quickly as possible. Hopefully, you've still got footy and racing to keep you company.
Yeah, look, it is what it is for me. Like, racing will keep going, and we've been through it a few times already, so it's not so bad, if that makes sense.
Well, it's the same here in New Zealand. We had a snap lockdown, so it's going to just get to a quieter part of the gym here, Toby. We had a snap lockdown about March. We were out drinking on Saturday night, and then by 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, it was shut the gate for a week, and you do get used to it. I suppose you get more used to being at home, and you have better work tools to handle things. But I suppose also the further we get into these things, the more we think they shouldn't happen. But hey, we're in far better positions, Toby, than plenty of people in India and Brazil, Colombia, our friends in America and England who have been through these things at far worse levels. So, let's try and look at least the positives, and I hope everybody over there stays as safe as possible anyway.
Now, I've got three things to ask you, I suppose. Firstly, have you got a memory of an APG race or something that you've backed the winner, or you're associated with a horse, or just a horse that you really loved over the journey? Probably
the thing about the APG is you hope it is an emerging race. You hope it's a race where when you watch it, you've seen a good horse. And probably in the early 90s, there were two of them at Harold Park, which really resonated with me because you knew you were seeing good horses. Ironically, neither of them broke 2 minutes for the mile. Back in 92, Golden Rain won the APG, the boys' APG. And then Shakermaker won the boys' APG. And both times, just the look of the horse. Yeah. You thought to yourself, wow. Whereas, subsequently since, because the way times have gone, we might see horses come out this weekend and jog to the front and they bowl around and win by 4 and they go sort of a 53-mile rate. And it happens every year. People go, oh, how good's this going to be? What a derby horse it's going to be. Yeah. And probably 50-50 they don't come back. And that's not just the APG. That's sales races full stop. Most Magic Millions winners don't go on with it. Plenty of Karaka Million winners don't go on with it. It's just the way sales series races work. So I think retrospectively, I look back now on Shakermaker and Golden Rain, probably the one horse I saw win an APG, and I thought to myself, dear God, this is a proper horse, was Lombo Pocket Watch, because he was so good. He won at Albion Park. Yeah. And he was so good, you just knew straight away you were seeing a good horse. Again, he didn't go on with it as an older horse. So I think sometimes you've got to look past the times, and you've got to look past the natural athleticism and veracity of some horses and think to yourself, what am I actually seeing here? And that's becoming a trickier thing to do because I think back in the day, sometimes good 2-year-olds would go on and make good horses, whereas now quite often our leading 2-year-olds, we gas them so much at 2 and 3, Toby, that we maybe don't see the best of them when they're older, but that's a business model that actually works because there's so much money at 2 and 3.
I had Andrew DeCampo on yesterday. He had the first winner, Son of Otara, went 157.8. And he basically said that his late father, Ray, said to, assess the horse that he's not going to be an open age horse, but he's going to be a fast 2-year-old. So they went all guns a-blazing to try and win this race and as much as they could with him as a young horse because they assessed the fact that he was going to be a fast 2-year-old but possibly not a good open age horse. So sometimes there's a little bit of that element too, that it's the trainers assessing the horse and saying, yep, I'm going to put him in these races and go fast because this is my opportunity to earn.
Well, and the biggest exponents of that are obviously Enna Stewart and Mark Purdon, who are our two most successful trainers. Yep. Now, they'll say, okay, this is a 2-year-old, and let's go to the well 10 times with this fella and get what we can because we've got 20 more at home. And that's where our Derby winner or our 4-year-old or our Miracle Mile winner will come from. And you see that a lot in the gallopers. You know, someone will really go to the well with their 2-year-old to make it a slipper horse, but they know that means he's almost certainly not going to win the Caulfield Guineas. And that, you know, you can't be everywhere. So look, take a horse like, for example, Adore Me, who might be the most talented pacing mare to race in this part of the world in the last 20 years. She didn't race at 2 because they said she needs more development. So the APG horses aren't those horses. So it's a really intriguing thing trying to guess where some horses are going to go. But it's a fascinating time, and it's a wonderful series because when you go to the sales, you need a carrot. And it's remarkable how often I've been at the sales and you go, we could probably turn this into a Karaka Million horse or a New Zealand Sire Stakes horse, and off you go. And for me, the Breeders' Crown's always been my favourite series in Australia. I love the Breeders' Crown. I think it's been a wonderful, wonderful series because of the trans-Tasmanification of it.
Yep.
Whereas I think most domestic sales series races, if I said to people listening to the show now, do you know who won the Harness Millions race in New Zealand 2 weeks ago? Most of them wouldn't know because they tend to very much stay in their silos unless a Golden Rain or a Shaker Maker or a Lombo Pocket Watch eventually comes out and sort of justifies that year's series.
Now, talking of Breeders' Crown, right, let's fictitiously, hypothetically, Better Twist, Tough Tilly and Antonia are all in the Breeders' Crown final and there are only the 3 horses in it. Who do you want to be on?
Depends where you run it, very clearly. At Menangle, she just beat them Better Twist. She's better than those Australian fillies. But you put them somewhere where gate speed is the crucial factor, like Melton, one of those type tracks. And Australian horses are just so much better at that than New Zealand horses. They're just so much better at getting off the gate and hustling and bustling, and they're tough. They win when it comes down to that gate speed, push and shove racing.
Yep.
You put the New Zealand horses on the bigger tracks where natural ability is by far the biggest determinant, and the better ones will tend to beat the Australians. That's why the biggest panel jobs, the biggest winning margin performances, are horses like Dream About Me and Adore Me when they win the ladyship. You put those good New Zealand horses, because there's so many of them, on a big track, and they'll usually beat the Australians, or they'll be close up. Put them on a small track, and those Australian horses just do that form of racing better.
Now, we've just got the first at Shepparton, and we'll come back to you, and I'm going to ask you about A.D. Turnbull.
Where's Blue? Set. And racing very slowly away. There was Black Jam, who missed the start, and away well. We've got All In Scooby out wide, who goes on. And look at All In Scooby go. It's a minute in front now. Losing ground, Stings to Burn. I'm not sure what happened to it, but the front runner, All In Scooby, a mile clear over Sanaya Vale second. Further back then Black Jam, and also Mount View Burner. Further back Hilltop and Titanium last, but it's All In Scooby, a big winner. Second goes to Black Jam. Third Sanaya Vale, being followed by Hilltop and Mount View Burner.
6, 3 and 8 in the first at Shepparton, and I'll just give you the floor for a couple of minutes, Mick, and I'll let you touch on A.D. Turnbull's passing.
Yeah, remarkable man. Remarkable dynasty that A.D. created, or Tony Turnbull, who passed away on Sunday night. I mean, not only is he the father of Steve and Greg, which makes him the grandfather of Amanda, he's also the father of Cindy Rickson, which makes him the father, the grandfather of Alan Rickson and Will Rickson. And look, there's more than floating around. I can't keep up with them all, to be completely honest. I think harness racing in that era had a real hard man, and I don't mean to be sexist by saying man, but there weren't many female stars in that era. That era was yet to come. That hard man attitude, they would literally, drive a horse 10 miles to the railway station, before the AD era, but a little bit there to get them to go on the train to Harold Park and all that sort of stuff. All these crazy stories you hear about. I think there was a lot of horseman skills back then, and horse people skills.
Yeah.
And when those skills are valuable, they're the sort of blokes who jump out of the sulky and tap a shoe on a horse. And racing's become so specialist that you do see a bit of that these days still. But I think it's an incredibly hard thing to learn later in life. You're either a horse person by the time you're 25 or you're not, because you almost invariably learn that from your mum and your dad or people around that ilk. And it's a skill I think harness racing still has often more than the gallops community, because obviously it's a smaller community and a lot of people do work for their mum and dads. But when you think of those guys in that era, must have been some great stories. Like even, Daddy Lang, Graham Lang, who passed away last year. When you sit with those guys for a couple of hours, you hear some amazing stories. So I was lucky enough to interview Steve Turnbull on the radio this week, and he told us some of the stories about his dad. And it was a different life back then. It was a simple life, and it wasn't. As Steve Turnbull told the story the other day, he said his brother Greg won a big race, and he came back and he said, "Oh, you're going to congratulate me, Dad?" And AD said, "Then what? Do you want a kiss?" It's just a different lifestyle. Yeah. And I admire that. I think it stood by harness racing people for a long time. They're very stoic, talented horse people who are used to hard work, and I think a guy like AD summed it up. So he'll have his funeral tomorrow at the cathedral there in Bathurst, and I'm thinking there might be a few headaches in Bathurst on Saturday morning.
All right, Mick, I'll leave it on that note. Thanks for coming on, and no doubt we'll have you back next Thursday and we'll touch base again.
Mate, next Thursday, Toby, we're going to give you a special preview of the Jewels. The Jewels are now 9 days away. There was going to be some of our friends from Victoria coming. Obviously, we know that won't be possible now, but we'll try and find everybody a winner. At the Jewels, 9 days away, the barrier draws for that. If you are stuck at home and locked down and you're a bit bored, tomorrow will come out about 10:30 Melbourne time on hrnz.co.nz.
Yep, we might have an extended half an hour or something next week then if it's the Jewels.
Well, let's be honest, Toby, you'll be in lockdown, so you'll have nothing better to do, so I'm happy to join you.
Okay, thanks, Mick Guerin. Let's get a breakaway, JD, and get Blake Fitzpatrick up on the line for a chat about his runners on Saturday night, and he might be able to get us a winner for Penrith tonight.